How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I feel like you're gonna know what to expect because we were just we were urinating next to each other and we were
lined up
reflecting.
in the men's room.
Yes, we
That's
were.
right.
We were reflecting on the inappropriate things we had said to our previous
That's
guests.
right. Doing a little man-to-man
Perfect.
comparing.
Actually, I thought we were on the air in there, so it's cool.
So everything's okay. Well, welcome, Tim Matheson.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We saw you, and I knew we were from the side. I knew you're playing Reagan, and you definitely. I'm not even. You do resemble someone. That's absolutely our next guest.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I played Reagan once before with Jay Thomas, actually in a pilot that he had done.
Jay Thomas, the radio guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Also a formidable actor
Yes.
as well. And because he's paying me to say that. And but I was also approached to do a one-man show as Reagan. But the script
So was I, but it was. I almost said Nancy, and I just said that wouldn't be funny, so I'll shut up.
No, it is just
hold on.
You gotta
the premise
commit,
wasn't
you
funny.
gotta commit to
All right,
that.
my fault. All right, good. Sorry.
But the script hadn't come together, so I didn't do it.
Okay. It's hard to play somebody. He's somebody people do a lot of people do impressions of. It's kind of hard. How do you get him without seeming like you're doing an impression of him?
Yeah.
Well, that was the trick. It was the big trap. I think was to be doing a bad impression of Reagan. So, or I figured my nightmare was to sound like Johnny doing Reagan, Johnny Carson.
Right.
Because it's so on YouTube, and that was my biggest fear. So I work from the inside out. So I just wanted to get enough of a sound like Reagan so that people would say, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
And the look is there. So that's what I worked.
When you look at Frank Langella, I think who did
Nixon.
in Frost Nixon,
Yes.
he didn't do a bad Nixon impression. He sounded like, but you could see that he was just playing kind of the guy, and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to do that, like get the voice impression.
Yeah, I did a
down.
great
Yeah.
Nixon in college, but I stopped doing it.
You did an impression of Reagan?
Can we hear a little
Nixon.
bit of it?
Can we hear that? Exactly. What's
Yeah,
that?
I'd love to.
Oh, boy.
I mean,
Bill Clinton fucked a black hooker behind a bush.
Yeah.
How would Nixon have known that?
That's the beauty of Nixon. He was a much smarter guy than people give him credit for.
It wasn't that good.
Thank you.
It wasn't a very good
It
impression.
was a very good impression. I put the fingers up like checkers.
Yeah,
That was
it
very
And he
good.
flunked out of college with that, right?
Yeah, that
his
was-
exit line.
Well, I only went to one semester community college. I got a B and 3 Fs. I did.
What'd you get the B in?
Yeah,
English.
Oh.
English, but that was more
That's odd.
merciful.
I would never have guessed that.
Me
Yeah.
neither.
No.
Me neither. You're our second, actually, we were talking about this. You're our second Reagan we've had in today. We had Bruce Campbell in before you, and Bruce played Ronald Reagan on Fargo.
Oh,
on the TV series, like
right.
for one episode or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
I got to check that out.
You know, Colin Quinn does an amazing Reagan. Do you know Colin Quinn,
Yeah,
the
sure I do,
comedian?
yeah.
He does probably the best Reagan. But he doesn't do it much in his act, but he's done it on the radio, and it's a perfect Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's Frank Langella right there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good Nixon. Have you seen Nixon, Elvis and Nixon?
Yes, it's great.
I didn't
Yeah.
see that, but I thought Michael Shannon was an interesting choice to play Elvis and Kevin Spacey.
Not a lot like Elvis, though. My favorite scene in it is when the Elvis impersonator comes up to Elvis in the airport.
Yeah.
And says, you're not a very good Elvis, but let me show you, and does an Elvis impersonation, which is better than Michael Shannon's. Right. Shit.
Right.
I wonder why. Yeah, I wonder why they got him. That was just he doesn't look like Elvis a lot.
He was too thin. Because
He was thin,
and
yeah.
Elvis at that point was just drugged out of his mind,
Right, yeah.
and there wasn't any of that. So it was, I think, the script that gave him some limitations, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
You know.
So speaking of scripts, like Killing Reagan is a Bill O'Reilly book.
Yeah.
And I know this because he's plugged it at the end of his show, like nonstop. Like the last 15 minutes of his shows is just plugging whatever's on his website. But was he at all involved in the movie, in the making of the film?
No, he came in at the end. He came down to visit the set one day, very tall.
Yeah.
You've met Bill. So, I mean, he's huge. He's like 6'5", something like that.
Oh.
But very bright guy. And it was very apolitical. We didn't discuss politics, so none of that came up. And I just found him very smart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an astute thing, this series of books. It would be a career for the normal person
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
addition to what he does at Fox. So it's really smart, this drama. The killing of series that he's done is great, and with Reagan, it's interesting because he's not killed by the
Right.
assassin. So his story goes on after he's been shot. So it's a little different than all the others.
So it's about Hinckley and leading up to
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Because he did
Just got out.
O'Reilly's done a series of
Right.
books. He did Killing Kennedy and he did Killing Jesus. He's done all of them, and you're right. It would be a career, and he's smart to then turn them around and turn them into
Yeah.
movies and
there's 5 more of these that are coming, and I think they're I forget what's going next, but
Killing Michael Jackson. It's the Dr. Conrad Murray story.
Very nice. You should pitch that.
Do you worry at all? Because I mean, it's a good thing because he's going to promote the shit out of the movie on his show, which has a huge audience.
Smart.
No, you're right.
My ears are not garbage cans.
You're right, Jim. I shouldn't have. It's a huge promotional tool, but you're not apolitical. You're pretty on Twitter. You're pretty clear about your opinions and that you're a Hillary Clinton supporter and very, very against Donald Trump. Are you worried that people on the O'Reilly side of things are going to find out about you through the movie, or think, oh, let me check him out on Twitter, and then be like, wow, this,
When I do O'Reilly, I'm going to do O'Reilly tonight, I think, and Fox and Friends tomorrow. I'm chicken shit. I'm not going to say anything political. I'm just going to go, no. Vote.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but when I go there, I'll just be apolitical. But
because on Twitter you're not even sort of apolitical.
No.
You're very, very clear.
Well, that's the best part, though, is that you get all these O'Reilly fans to come in there, and then they see that you're a big Hillary supporter, and then you go, and I played your favorite son, you shitheads. And you point at them.
they get so upset on Twitter. I used to like you. Fuck you. You asshole. And you how could you support Benghazi? I mean,
That's
they just
not
go
what I meant, but
they go nuts on it.
yeah. They go and it's people like, I've grown up watching you and blah blah blah, and you betrayed me. You did.
Yeah.
And you're like, you could still watch the movies.
It's just politics, and the movie itself is not about the politics, you know, because as I've said, you can't act the politics. You can only act the person and the inner spirit of that, and really what it's the Killing Reagan is basically a story about John Hinckley and about the Reagans, and it's a love story about Ronnie and Nancy. It really is what that side of the story is in the White House. So that's really what it is, not his politics that much.
So your basic thing is just get out there and vote. Like I like that. You're just like, hey, because I started the campaign years ago, which people were scared to get on board with.
I'm
afraid to hear what it was.
No, it's not bad.
I'm very curious.
It's called, do you remember years ago? It was vote if you're not busy.
Just so non-committal. I just don't know if it would do the trick the way people would want it to.
Yeah.
If you can swing by.
Yeah, vote at this time.
I mean, P. Diddy had a campaign, Vote or Die. You wrote Vote if you're not busy.
Yeah, vote or die's a little dramatic. What if you're stuck in traffic? You got to hang yourself?
No, we'll find you.
So Hinckley just got out, too. That's kind of... Do you think that a guy like that, who actually... I think once you shoot a president for any... I don't care what your mental health is, you should never get out of jail.
I'm with you. I'm kind of, it's like, okay, you were guilty by reason of insanity or not guilty by reason of insanity, but when are you sane? This guy has a mental condition that is ongoing, but evidently they determined that he's harmless. Yeah, right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even if he is harmless, punish him anyway. Keep him in there anyway. Who cares?
You shot Reagan.
He did it. Do you like doing political, acting?
Sure.
Not you, Jim.
Sorry.
Because there's this, of course, everybody knows you from The West Wing, and you've done some other stuff. Do you like kind of going into that world? Because the political world is just incredibly...
It's insane now.
Insane and entertaining. And
I find that, I love doing it. I love doing political drama, and for Americans, I think and there's a great, deal of interest in it because obviously the politics of the world right now and the election, but it's sort of America's version of the histories of Shakespeare. It's sort of our king and queen. It's our royal family. So that's really, I think, what's interesting about it, and that's why people are so drawn to it.
Yeah, and I especially now, because now you've included show business into it too. You know what I mean? Now it's this whole other...
Well, now the comedy should be... You remember the comedy Dick? Did you ever see Dick?
Yeah.
You bet I have. On every girl I've dated. No, I'm kidding, Tim.
No, you're not.
That's factual.
Yeah, with
that is accurate.
That's true. She knows I've dated her.
Hey-o.
We got pictures. Okay, hold on.
They're with
Whip
Kirsten
it out
Dunst in it, right?
Yeah.
The Dick movie.
That's
The
two
movie Dick.
Kirsten Dunst references in one show. I feel
Wow.
like that's
Yeah,
What
because she
was
was
the
in
other one?
Fargo.
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ric Flair.
that's kind of. I think that's
Let's
ever
fact
happened.
check this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember the movie Dick. Yeah.
But it's so I think there's a tremendous capacity for that kind of an appetite for that kind of drama.
Do you try to go back into like comedy with a certain sort of regularity, or do you just as it comes up?
As it comes out, I love comedy.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the hardest thing to find because it's the most difficult script to write.
Right.
As you know.
Well, and especially too, like you do Animal House, and at such a young age, is it to then start looking at other comedy scripts? Does it become like, wow, but this isn't that?
Yeah.
A lot of that?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, because there were so many things. Like, oh, this will be like that, and it's like it's not. I mean, we worked on the movie 1941, which is Spielberg, Bob Zemeckis film, which was pretty good.
Very underrated.
It's underrated, but
Very
it's pretty good.
underrated.
But there was a lot of the characters did the same kind of humor, and in Animal House, I did a verbal kind of romantic comedy, and Belushi didn't hardly have any. It was physical comedy, and everybody had a different kind of comedy that they did. Every character.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a unique script, and it was way ahead of its time.
But I'll tell you what, I love it. I think we might have even talked about this before.
In the bathroom.
Yeah, we did. I think you said something, and I went, oh. Frank McRae is the funniest guy on earth. And he was in Used Cars, which I think is a Zemeckis, Kurt Russell,
sure, yeah.
Jack Warden comedy, which I've been yapping about for a year. And in fucking, hey, get in the back of the tank in 1941. And he was in 48 Hours. He's one of the another underrated guy in Hollywood.
Oh,
Frank
he's
McRae
great.
was a funny motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
I wish he did more films. He's alive, though. Someone told me he's alive.
I think so.
But no, he stopped acting or he stopped doing movies.
Oh, I just sounded like you were like saying that miraculously, like he was sick or something.
No,
He's
but-
alive.
But he was so good. Yeah, well, that's the Bill O'Reilly's next book, Killing Frank McRae. But no, the fact is he's done so many funny things, and he's such a funny guy, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you don't see him anymore, and it's like, what happened to him?
Well, it's that crazy thing about show business. It's like all of a sudden nobody calls you. I mean, it's like
I know.
you have good times, bad. You know that,
Sure.
and it's like there's good times, there's bad times.
He didn't
and
know there were good times.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought no one called you. That was in the business.
You don't know what like. Am I out of the business? I mean, nobody let you know.
Yeah.
So it's just
How long of a string have you gone on, not realizing like what's happening?
For
here?
me, it's from 1990 till now.
Let's not count now. I've hustled. I've started directing and producing, so I'm always doing something. And because
So you'll create a project for yourself if there isn't one.
It was the only way I kept my sanity because and that way I could be unemployed in two different jobs, acting and directing. But it was the best sort of fallback thing for me. So I just didn't lose my mind to sit by the phone and going, when's it gonna ring? So that's how I've approached it.
And West Wing just got. I usually hate lists because I never make lists. But the Rolling Stone top 100 shows, I
saw
did look
that.
at it. I think West Wing was right ahead of MASH. I want to say it was 17 or 16,
Wow. That's
and
right.
West Wing was 15 or 16.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So that's a tremendously respected show.
Yeah.
How awesome is Martin Sheen?
Oh, he's fabulous.
That was really a stupid question. How awesome is Martin Sheen?
Chris Farley, I don't know.
I know. I understand. I didn't have a follow-up. I know. I admit it. It was a terrible question and an on point.
Right.
I just happen to like Martin Sheen. You ever see Apocalypse Now? Guy that's trying to salvage a bad question. You ever see Apocalypse Now?
That's where you were going with
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Do you watch movies and
Yes.
think not you? The questions aren't going to be directed to you. We're doing this.
Be that way.
Do you watch movies and think like oh, that was mine, like that role, like oh, I could have nailed that?
No, I'm a great audience. I just go into the film, and I look at it more from a director's point of view, I think, than an act. But I mean, I can appreciate the
Sure.
acting, and I'll definitely get inspired by films that I've seen. And I saw Hamilton last night. Which
The play?
Yeah.
Is the original guy, did he leave?
He left.
He left.
How was the-
Lin-Manuel.
Oh, Lin-Manuel.
Lin-Manuel.
It's gonna be
yeah.
on SNL this weekekend, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's the host.
Yeah.
Except he got his ponytail off though.
Uh-oh.
How was it?
You know?
Lost the
Fantastic.
Everyone says I have
It's
zero
unbelievable.
interest in it, and yet everybody raves about it. So I'm like, it's got to be good. I just didn't. I know I'm
It
missing
was
something.
it was so different than what I expected. There's no dialogue. It's all song.
See that
But
loses me.
it works great because it's so many different kinds of music and song and rap. And
It's a lot of rap. Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas, have you seen it?
No, but I really want to. Any clip I see of it, I'm like, this looks amazing.
It's astonishing. It just stands it on its head. It's great direction and choreography and it just and history.
I'm very worried though when I look at it because I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it because I'm worried that it's like, like when you have the teacher that thinks he's the cool teacher and he starts rapping and he thinks that he can relate to the kids and stuff like that.
I love
like,
teachers like that.
God, I'm not learning anything.
I love that. I wanted to be a teacher. And Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Mind inspired me to want to be a teacher. Do you remember that?
Yeah, when she's giving paydays
Dangerous
out to
Minds,
yeah. She's giving out like candy bars to like the most dangerous kids that have ever been. This is what we needed.
That's absolutely
candy
what we needed.
bars.
Exactly.
Yeah. And trips
Turned
to
him around, didn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, you put that gun away. Have a Mars bar. It's very believable. That's how you turn around inner city youth.
But it wasn't. Hamilton wasn't like that.
No, it's revolutionary. It's excuse the pun, and it's fantastic, and the music is wonderful.
You know what play I like? Les Mis.
Yes.
So
Like
you
the
can
best.
relate to it.
Miz. It's about the French Revolution.
Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of La Cage aux Folles. Sorry, I was insulting his sexuality. I got it wrong.
Once again, only your mind had gotten there for some reason.
Well, I couldn't help it. What play could I think of?
No, you're right.
Sorry.
Just think the one I was talking about, I guess.
I didn't like Les Mis for that reason.
What?
Reminded of you, right?
Yeah, I don't like musicals. I did enjoy the Book of Mormon. I said it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
That's great.
It is a masterpiece. But I just never liked singing the dialogue.
What do you think about Grease?
What's that?
Sorry,
Yeah, what about Grease?
I use it, but I mean, otherwise I'd be sitting on a little donut. For my hiney.
No, I know what it was
Ankles.
for. Just disgusting. Just disgusting.
But true.
Yeah, no. Accurate though. Accurate. What was everybody's got Chevy Chase stories
Sure.
now, and I feel like especially after that show Community, he came out of it looking very bad. Like everybody had stories about him being like an asshole and all this stuff. What was he like to work with as a young man?
Well, Chevy on Fletch was where I worked with him.
Yeah.
He was clean. He had just sobered up, and he was on his best behavior. So he was great. But he patently admitted, he said, "I'm not an actor, so you try and break me up, improvise, throw lines at me, insult me." So I would, when we were doing his close up, I would just riff on him and try and break him up, try and just shake him up, and somehow because he knew that he wanted a real reaction there because he couldn't act it, and but because he was very very
Just riffing,
and it was fun to work with, and he had a great director, Michael Ritchie. And so it was great fun, but I think drugs were his problem, and I think that's what led him down a bad path.
Okay.
Right.
Well, they're saying you have to go, but Killing Reagan premieres Sunday, October 16th at 8:00, and you're going to be on the O'Reilly Factor.
It's on National Geographic, by the way.
Oh yeah, I should have probably said that.
Nat
Appreciate
Geo.
that. Yeah,
That's
Nat
really
Geo.
awful. I just gave you a bad plug. I apologize. I basically just said it's on. Go find it, motherfuckers.
Exactly.
That was terrible of me. I should have said where you can find it.
Yeah, October 16th. Just scroll through the dial.
Exactly. Just start.
Yeah, it's on somewhere.
It's in HD. Good luck to you. And Tim _Matheson is Tim on Twitter if you want to follow Tim.
Thank you.
But don't understand. We've set up what he does on Twitter, so don't just follow him just to be like you're an asshole. Like now. So if you don't want to read something that you don't agree with, you don't have to follow.
Don't go upset yourself.
So, we didn't even ask you to do Reagan. I never like to put people on the spot.
I don't do impressions though. I mean, it's like it's not.
How do you do them in the movie?
Well, I sounded like him, and I worked with because he had lowered his voice, and there you go again. I mean, it was just
who's that?
That was my Nixon. That was my Nixon.
Yeah.
So you play the guy. The old actor thing is you play. They say you play the man, not the uniform, right?
Because I would have just done a bad impression, and it's not my thing. So so I just did him from the inside out.
I think it's easier to get into a character like that. Like
Yeah.
when I'm watching, I know we have to wrap up, but we talked about Frank Joe. Like if I'm not watching a guy do an impression, then you just give, okay, that's who this guy is. It's him, and then you just watch it.
And Jim
Yeah.
tried to get. Remember, what was it? Primary Colors, the Bill Clinton movie with Travolta. You wanted that role, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Clinton is really good, but I don't do him that much, and I don't look like him. That's the problem.
What does it
Yeah,
sound
that is
like?
the
Did
problem.
you-
What does he sound like?
Put a cigar in that girl's vagina.
That was like Nixon. That was the same. It was the same riff as Nixon.
That was lit.
Well, if we ever have to do a Killing Clinton, we know where to come.